So now you're host, sir. You can, if you want, then you can go for sharing your slides. A lot of participants already joined, but a lot of join today, sir. Gradually they are joining.
Okay. Where is my slide? Not there yet. Hey, funny. It's not there. Okay, hang on. Let me do it again. Then, can you see it? Can you see it?
Yes, sir. We are.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can see.
It is visible, sir. Okay, you can go for next slide, maybe.
No, I wanted to do this. Yeah. Can I begin?
Yes, sir. You can, sir.
Right. Okay. This topic is my favorite topic. Yeah. One is the School of Supply Chain Management. My favorite subject, and much more again this transportation focus of some supply chain. You know, and perhaps I would say in supply chain. Talking about movement of goods, yeah, movement from point A to point B. So once a company exists, a product being produced to serve the community, and definitely it has to be transported. You cannot just throw it away, you know, it has to be transported to ensure satisfaction to the customer. And as on top of the human being, we travel, okay? We don't stay one area to one for many years. We are subject to move from one point to another. And human, it says here that, well, don't talk about air first, you know, we're talking about land and sea. It was in existence for many years, thousands of years. So human have always traveled the earth. They will move one point to another. As such, this evolution have gone to one phase to another, one evolution to another, and it says the simpler we use canoe or a small boat, yeah, and up to now we travel the space, and then you don't know what happened next, yeah. You don't know what happened. Probably one day we have our own shoes and we travel. We cross the space with special shoes. We have seen a lot of movies, yeah, whereby the people are flying with this what you call it, an invention where the shoes give a kind of jet propel that moves human flying here and there. Yeah. So we can see that the brief history of transportation started on the first vehicle, it says 900,000 years ago to what we have seen now. Yeah, people travel to the space, yeah? And we have seen one advert, you know, that just because to advertise a product, Red Bulls, they went to the space. Yeah, that capsule went to the space and he jumped from the space to the earth. He jumps, you know. Oh my God. Yeah, I think that is human. Yeah? So if you look at the history again, we start from the boats and then horses, wheeled vehicles, yeah, steam engines that move the ships, vessel, locomotive, train, trucks, cars. Well, we have submarine as well, but submarine I don't think we move product one point to another with submarine, but rather in warfare, yeah, aircraft, and to the space. So what happened is that in the early days, when people travel from east to west, the point of Europe, the east, because of what? Because of product, you know. British went to the east, went to China in the opium, asking they're looking for opium, and they went to Southeast Asia looking for spices, went to India, They move around. And then at the end, then we can see China ahead, China from China, east of China towards the western part of Europe. This is a vast area. And they have this Silk Road, yeah, a massive, and now modern time, now we have massive China infrastructure. The China belt, I forgot what belt is. Well, I remember this belt, I just forgotten. They are having this land and sea. The main focus, land and sea. Build up ports in Sri Lanka, though it was a devastated one. Yeah, they set up ports somewhere close to Pakistan. They come up with the highways from China
Everyone, turn off your microphone. Sir is lecturing. Please turn off your microphone. Turn your camera on. Put your webcam on, but turn off your microphone.
So that's what happened now. We will see more to come. Yeah, China is building up infrastructure. Why they are building up infrastructure? Because goods are moving east, west, north, south. Yeah? And why are we moving these goods, even passenger? Is because of the supply chain is there. So we are so much concerned that to ensure that this movement arrive at the right time, at the right place, at the right quantity, and many more others prerequisite or criteria that have to be fulfilled. So this supply chain is a very massive. Yeah, if you look at what happened when China is building this belt east to west, is because of the transfer of goods, transportation, and it falls under the massive supply chain discipline. Oh my God. And in fact, because with this infrastructure, the economy will boom. Yeah. And economy start with the infrastructure. And infrastructure is basically what is about transporting. Yeah. They build up the port, they build up the airport. Yeah. They build up all these thousands miles or kilometers of highways because of transporting people and transporting of goods. Yeah. So we can see that transportation is a very major, big sectors of economy. It is the one that push the economy of the country. Yeah. So there's one saying that to start the booming of an economy is to build up infrastructure. In the urban areas, we have this, what you call it, transportation within the urban, the capitals of the country. Yeah, we have this LRT, monorails coming in, to avoid congestion. That is part of infrastructure, and again, is for moving people and transport. Yeah. So so we see that how much you see that transportation is a huge sectors, and even I don't know, in Malaysia, we have our own Ministry of Transportation that takes care of transportation, land, sea, and air. Okay, so at the modern time we have land, sea, and air. So transportation, I don't know, in Bangladesh, do you have the Ministry of Transport? I'm not sure. Yeah, in some part of the country they do have the transportation, Ministry of Transportation. Yeah, right. So so within supply chain, so when we talk about supply chain, it's moving about the most effective manner, cutting costs, cutting edge, to be more competitive, to move the products from A to Z, and the most deduction of cost. Yeah. Okay. Right. So we see here we have land, sea, and air. Yeah. Right. Then our objective tonight to understand the role of transportation in supply chain. Try to evaluate the strength, weakness within the modes of transportation. the role of infrastructure and policies in transportation, basically by the government of the country. Yeah? Identify the strength and weakness, choosing the right mode, network design option of transportation. And then we look at the trade-off with the shippers need to consider some other design of transportation network. So it become a network and become a hub. Now we're talking about hub. Yeah, we can see, like, for example, we have the hub in the Middle East. Yeah, before people travel to the west from east, there is a hub in the Middle East there. Emirates, Dubai. Yeah? So this is the growth of this hub. So you have to kind of identify what is the best transport in designing the network, right? Okay, then so foremost we look at the role of transportation. Yeah? So just is a refer of movement of product, one location to another, and it has been growing dramatically, globalized. Yeah, it's no more local. And when we globalize moving thing, then it's about a change in supply chain. Yeah? Moving of goods within a certain span of location, it become a change. Yeah, so the growth perhaps and the growth multifold with online sale. Yeah, so because both trends are increasing, this products travel. Yeah? We buy some simple items, it travel from China. There are lots of items from China. Just small item we are buying, and it start traveling from China. Yeah? So transportation decision will affect supply chain profitability. Well, of course, yeah, a business at the end of the day is talking about profitability. Yeah. So as such that besides selling goods to gain profit, it is also by having an effective transportation decision made will gain profitability as well. Yeah, by adjusting what mode to use, controlling the inventory, having the right facilities to move the product one place to another. That would reduce the cost and is part of profitability as well. Besides selling the goods at profitability, we are talking about movement of goods. The movement of goods having the right networking design would gain another profit. So you have so supply chain, we bear in mind running a business that on top of selling goods at the profit, we are also reduction of cost at transportation is another form of profitability to the company, right? So the basic one, this is the basic transportation that move raw materials to suppliers and then to manufacturing. Yeah, and then we have the transportation, the truck is there. And from a raw material to supplier, there needs a transportation. It moves, yeah, it moves, yeah. Everything needs physical, yeah. Though we are talking about online, whatever online we are talking, yeah, virtual, whatever it is, yeah, but at the end of the day, talking about transporting product, it has to move physically. Yeah, it has to move physically, right? Though we are facing COVID, yeah, during COVID time, supply chain doesn't stop, There are part of business have to be shut off, yeah. But the supply of goods, it can be supply of medical, supply of basic food, it has to move. So logistic transportation of goods of product did not stop. Human transportation might stop, but product transportation can't stop, though we are under lockdown. Yeah. So how important is supply chain and how much technology have been embedded, in supply chains due to the pandemic. Yeah. Right. So it's even more, the third role is even more if you go for global. Any supply chain success is closely linked to appropriate use of transportation. Yeah, land, sea, and air. Yeah, so we have to really use it most appropriately. Is giving example here. IKEA, Scandinavian home furnishing retailer, built a global network through 350 stores in 42 countries, and primarily on the basis of effective transportation. So you can imagine any organization that goes global, across the countries of the world. So how much intense and the importance of effective transportation they have to choose, and it needs a specialist to be stationed in a company to ensure the smooth running of these goods from one point to another point. And sometimes it was day and night, day and night is working. Yeah, you work in the bank, you can shut off at 5 or at 4. But transportation of goods is 24/7. Yeah, the ships come to the port at any time. Aircraft coming down to the airport, at any time. Same goes to the truck that travels in the middle of the night. Across the country, this truck moving across the country, train across the country. They are moving day and night. So it is a massive job. So another example given here is 7-Eleven. Japan is another firm that has used transportation to achieve its strategic goal. The company has good goal of carrying products. You know what? Japan has a lot of 7-Eleven, and amazingly, Japan, okay, fine, it's a big country. But when I was in Phuket Island is a small island, probably as big as Singapore. Yeah. Now, 7-Eleven, if you travel in that island within in a town, if you look at, of course, when you travel a little bit outskirts from Phuket, a bit the jungle, then you won't see. But in the town, in a small town, if you travel in Phuket, in a small town, you could see 7-Eleven in 1 or 2 kilometers. In 1 or 2 kilometers, then you can see 7-Eleven, then another 7-Eleven, then another 7-Eleven. So it was amazing. I really wanted to know how. So once you have all these, what you call it, the stores around the corner, how do you manage that? How do you manage the supply in and supply out? That is because of transportation. Effectiveness of transportation, and it has to be tip top. Yeah. Right. So basically, we are well much aware that this is the mode of transportation nowadays. We have air, package carriers, small parcel, package carriers, and then we have truck, pretty big, and then we have rail. Of course, rail is massive one, and heavy stuff, water as well. Ships are going there, vessel, and many kinds of other transportation within the water itself. And then we have the pipeline, basically LNG, petrol, and we have the another interesting one. We have intermodal. Intermodal is basically, we'll go through in another slide what is meant by intermodal. This is another popular one being used. Okay, right. So let's see one by one. So it starts with air. It carries passengers and cargo. Usually when we travel by air, usually we go with passengers and cargo. But of course, there are common time is just for cargo alone. So airlines have 3 cost components. So when we go for, as we have mentioned earlier, effective using which mode of transport? By cutting costs. So as such, that we are looking at the cost. So each and every choice of mode to be used is looking at the cost. So as far as air is concerned, it's stated here that a fixed cost of infrastructure and equipment. There's a fixed cost. You go to the airport, the item that is already fixed there. Either the airport is running, the aircraft is flying or not, the cost is there. Yeah. Then next one, we have the cost of labor and fuel. That's independent of the passenger. When it's fly, then we have cost of labor and fuel. So, but it's fixed for the flight. So for flight, then it becomes a fixed one. Petrol definitely, yeah. Because I'm started to fly, then it becomes a fixed. If you don't fly, the infrastructure and the equipment is a fixed cost. Available, then we have the variable cost depend on the passengers and cargo carried. So how much you carry the passenger and how much weight of cargo, that's another cost incurred. So that is where cost being calculated. So we have the software nowadays. We have this software to calculate this and to get the best result, either to use whichever transport. We have the software to choose for that. Companies should inculcate, or companies should have come up with a software to help this. We call it, sometimes we call it logistician. Yeah, logistician. Right. Small high value items or time sensitive, emergency, then it might go for air. Small high value item. If you have to buy gold, you buy diamonds, it's small, but very high value. Then we have time sensitive, mean to say that someone needs that within 24 hours, someone needs it within 3 hours, 4 hours, then you have to be sensitive to use, and the best, the travel, the fastest is air transport. So if you look at the item, small, high value, and if it is time sensitive, then as I mentioned here, an emergency, then you might go for air transport. So air carrier normally move items under 500 pounds. High value, but lightweight, high-tech product, high technology product. Yeah. So that is the option. So given the growth of high technology, the weight of freight carried by air has diminished over the past 2 decades. Yeah? Because of technology, the weightage become less. Yeah? So the value has increased, whatever it is. Yeah. So that's the choice of using air. Yeah? You want it fast, and for example, you are exporting kind of apparel. Yeah? Sometimes apparel is not that heavy, then you can just fly it. Yeah, fly it then. Besides gyms, right? So the aircraft in the air industry is growing, except that we've been hit by lockdown or by the pandemic. Yeah. So in the Asian region, there is a significant growth in 20%, especially China and India. Yeah. Well, we have the United States there, but I mentioned that they have a difficult time. Yeah. They are doing in the United States, when they have this liberation of transportation, there were a lot of companies running, private companies running aircraft industry. It's not being under the government. Yeah, it's very much private companies. So they have gone to. Too bad to say, they have gone to bankruptcy. And numbers of airlines, they went down to bankruptcy. But nonetheless, at the moment, we are seeing China and India going. So we cannot just liberalize the aircraft industry without other government intervention. Yeah. So so we see that that's happening now. Yeah. The industry is moving along, and we have started. Yeah. All over the world, flight is starting now, flying here over there, and it's getting busy, and we can see that it will move the economy forward. Yeah. So key issues that air carriers face, including identifying the location and numbers of hubs, as I mentioned just now. Yeah? We have hubs. Once we start to flying by air, we have to know where is the hub. Usually from, as I mentioned, from Asia, from Southeast Asia, from Bangkok, KL, Singapore, they will fly to Europe. They might have a hub in Middle East. Or from Australia, they might have a hub in Singapore. So that is hub. And then what happened in Latin America, they might have another hub there. Yeah. Similarly in America. So assigning plane to the routes, yeah, which route to use. Setting up maintenance schedule for planes, scheduling crews. Oh, this is managing prices and other different and ability. You look at buying an air ticket, you know, you buy from air ticket, the price different from the next one, from someone who sitting next to you. Yeah. So similarly, when you are moving your cargo, yeah. So these are the issues in the, what you call it, in air transport. It says maintenance is have to be scheduled. Yeah, this is very serious offense. You don't go for maintenance. You know, plane is, you know, you fly fast, and but the risk is very high. So as such, maintenance schedule is very important. Yeah, the plane is where to go, to fly. Scheduling the crews. Yeah, they are working 8 hours a day. Make sure they are being do not overwork and so forth. Yeah, right. So that is another, that's the major issue in air industry. Yeah, right. So to understand transportation supply, it's important to consider a perspective of 4 parties. Yeah? So we have 4 parties here. It says the carrier. The carrier, that means the one, the aircraft is the carrier. Someone own the aircraft, so they are the carrier. The carrier. Someone own the train to move the product, so they are the carrier. Yeah. So we have the carrier, basically locomotive, truck, cars, airplane, and so forth. Yeah. So that makes operating decision try to maximize the ROI, or return of investment on the asset. Yeah? So you have aircraft. So how much you need to fly, yeah, to ensure that you get your profit back and the return of it. So we have the carrier, and then we have the shipper. So the shipper is someone who is the company is going to transport the product. So I may be the shipper. The carrier is a company who owns the vessel, the ships, the aircraft. That is a carrier. Yeah. The shipper can be you, the manufacturer. Yeah. They are the shipper, providing an appropriate level of responsiveness to the customer. Because company, when they produce product, they wanted to sell, so they have to be responsive to the customer, which one to use, air, land, or sea. So they are the shipper. So basically, again, that the shipper has mentioned here is that they have to transport to ensure total cost minimized. Yeah, because they consider transportation is one, inventory, information, sourcing facilities. Yeah, so a company who wanted to ship the product, they have to consider what's in the inventory, what information needs to be, to ensure who is the customer, where to send it, where facilities they have to store the product. So that is part of their hassle to the shipper or the manufacturer. With the understanding, the manufacturer, they want to sell it. Yeah, the effectiveness of carrier is influenced by infrastructure. So once the effectiveness of transporting this, it depends on the infrastructure. So the infrastructure is crucial. China is building up infrastructure, yeah, the ports, yeah, the roads, the waterways, airports. These are infrastructure that will boom the economy. So most transportation infrastructure throughout the world is owned and managed by public people, the government, yeah, yeah. So it's important that infrastructure be managed in such a way that monies are available for maintenance and investment for future use. Yeah. So, well, of course, if I were to say about corruption, it would jeopardize the infrastructure's growth. We have seen how much devastated this, Sri Lanka is facing. Having facilities to upgrade facilities of the port in Sri Lanka, yeah, borrowed from China, and you mismanage, and the corrupted leaders of the country are that. It's too bad to say. Yeah, it's too bad to say. Though we have the positive idea of building up infrastructure, But if we have bad leaders, yeah, very sad, very sad state. Thus, transportation policy set the direction of national resources. Improving transportation infrastructure is crucial. Yeah. So transportation policy also aims to prevent abuse of monopoly power, promote fair competitiveness, balance environment, energy, and social concern in transportation. So, there are lots of uh, magnitude infrastructure, yeah, but then it is against the environment. We have to go about the ecosystem, the social effect, the human effect when coming up with big infrastructure. Yeah, this is common. Yeah, so we have to balance that. So when the liberalization of air industry is just not the government is only who running the air industry, we liberalize. Private firm also can go can run the industry, the industry. So to avoid monopoly, if there is only one carrier or one institution or organization running one aircraft company, one in a country, then it become monopoly. So there are numbers of aircraft companies are coming in as a competitor in the country. But again, in the United States, it's too much, too many private companies. Then it becomes is what happens is bad to the industry, and they go for bankruptcy. So that is what happened. So as such, that transportation will affect environment. It affect the energy sources. Do you want to use electricity or you want to use coal, yeah, and that is again pollution. Well, whatever you go for, there is a sacrifice. Going for a better what you call it, a better modern country. Yeah, we look at again the standards of economy, the standard of cost of living, or standard of style of living. Again, it depends on the transportation. Yeah. Well, in again, this transportation happened that it will jeopardize the environment and pollution. That there are countries that avoid driving cars alone going into the city. Yeah. Well, I would say in my country, the culture of driving is what you call it. They feel that they are a second-hand citizen. They are not well-to-do if you don't have a car. They are considered as not well-to-do if they don't have a car. But in Europe, public transport is much better. Even the minister, when they go for their office, they go by public transport. Yeah. But in my country, no, there will be a police, car or rider or police that will escort the minister moving from one point to another. Yeah. So again, culture is there. Yeah. Right. So again, transportation, it can become very crucial to any country. Right. So we have the carrier. Just now was air. We have the carrier package. So carrier package is basically about these small companies. Yeah. And giving examples, FedEx, UPS, and US Postal. Every country nowadays, there are so many companies that go for courier service. Yeah, this is like a courier service, carrier package, stroke courier. Yeah, so in every country, there's numbers of hundreds of, or not really 100, maybe few, about 50 to 40 companies that are running this kind of courier service, carrying small packages from letters shipment to about 150 pounds. Yeah, I'm sure you, especially nowadays, buying online, these are the one, yeah, courier service. So though they are this carrier, but again they use air, truck, yeah, they use air, truck, and rail to transport. Yeah, these small packages. So even it is small, but still they use air, they use truck and rail. But nowadays, they use motorbike as well for transporting of food. And nowadays it's for Grab, they call it, buying online food or buying online. So besides using car, they're using motorcycle as well. So they become major service for offer shipper in rapid and reliable delivery. In 1 or 2 days, you can receive the product. So if the growth of online said the use of package carriers is multifold, dramatically increased significantly for the past few years, yeah, especially during the pandemic. Packages. I tell you what, the women like this so much, yeah. The women like this so much. They keep buying and buying online. You don't have to move, you know. They don't have to move, getting out of the house. They just by using their finger and handphone, and the item is coming to the house. A day can be 2 deliveries in a day. It can be 4 deliveries. It can be 10 deliveries in a day, you know. My God, yeah. They are so fond of buying, especially this small item. Right. Next, we have, this is a truck. Let's give you an example of truck, yeah. It's very much popular in the state. We also have some in our country as well. The truck is very popular from one city to another city, yeah. The most of the world truck carries significant fraction of the goods move, part of the fraction of goods, yeah. Why is this fraction? Probably, you know, from the manufacturer, they send 100 ton, yeah, 100 tons of product, but the lorries or the truck would take 10, another truck take another 10, another truck take another 10. So the fraction of the good move. So trucking industry consists of 2 major segments: the truckload and less truckload, TL and LTL. Trucking is more expensive than rail, but it offers the advantage of door-to-door shipment and shorter delivery time. Yeah. So what is meant truckload is that one truck, all my item, for example, yeah. One truckload means company A, all the item in that company A is sent to another place. But less truckload means today in one truck, less truckload means in one truckload, there are 10 items from different companies are loaded into one truck and it moves one point to another. Yeah. So it's a doorstep. It was sent just like the parcel, the small parcel that came to our house. That is part of the of advantage of trucking. Yeah? It goes from door to door. Yeah. But again, it is used by motorbike. Yeah. But again, if some quite a big item, yeah, the truck will come straight in front of your house. Yeah. Like if you are moving your personal belonging from one place, you know, you have to move to another city, put on one truckload. One truckload is all your item, and that's one truckload. Then it moves from house to house, yeah, from house in Dhaka to another house in Rajshahi by one truckload. Yeah, right. So this is the land and the one. We have the train there, loaded with a container. So rail incur high fixed costs in terms of tracks, locomotive cars, and yards. Yeah, the track is expensive. Yeah? The track, and then buying the train, the locomotive itself, the prime mover there. Yeah, locomotive, and then we have the cars of it, and the cars is the average. The cars means one carriage there, yeah. They call it cars, yeah. Because the locomotive, the head will bring 10 cars or 20 cars, a long one, yeah. And the yard is where the train stops, station, go for repairs. They have to have that. So this is very high maintenance, yeah. A significant trip-related labor and fuel cost independence. So we have labor and fuel depends on the frequency of traveling. Well, again, it says vary with distant travel in time taken. Yeah. So how far you are traveling and how far does it take from one point to another. So any idle time one train is powered is expensive. So if the train is not moving, the cost is become very high because labor and fuel costs are incurred even though trains are not moving. Yeah. Oh. Just like the plane, if the plane is not flying, it become a cost also. Yeah. So idle time occurs when train exchange the cars for different destinations, right? Yeah. Of course, yeah, you have to manage that. Yeah. The labor cost, the fuel, that will cost is mentioned is cost 60% of railroad expenses. Yeah. Right. Well, that is about the rail. Yeah. Then we have what we have next. So then we have water. Now we're talking about water. We have ship, submarine, rubber boat, canoe, frigate, sailboat, rowboat, submarine. Yeah. All right. So if you look at the water, the major global ocean carrier, Maersk, yeah, Evergreen, another one. I think there's another one that I've forgotten. I've been lost touch with this ocean carrier. Yeah, the president there, Hanjin Shipping, by its nature, is limited to certain areas. So I think I've seen Evergreen and Maersk quite prominent, yeah, compared to others. But present line. But of course, in your country, you have some company, these ocean carriers that are prominent in a particular country. So it's ideally suited for carrying large loads at low cost. Yeah. We have the train, pretty expensive, it says, yeah, and, but low cost is water. Right. So in that under China infrastructure, they are also building up the sea or the water transportation as well. Yeah, from China, they have this major route to Southeast Asia, passing through Singapore, and then going to Sri Lanka, India, yeah, and in Europe. Yeah, yeah, that is the common route. Yeah. So in global trade, water transport is dominant mode of shipping in global trade. Yeah. We're talking about global, then the most prominent one is shipping by water. Cars, they travel, cars, grain, apparel, or even apparel there, and other products are shipped by sea. Yeah, right. And a lot more, yeah, a lot more. Most of them they go by transport by vessel. And nowadays, vessels are very fast, not like before. Yeah? They go very fast nowadays. Yeah? So a significant trend in maritime trade worldwide has been the growth, the use of container. We have seen on top of the locomotive, on top of train there, that is a container. Yeah. If you fly by air, then you can see a small container. Yeah. If you look at the truck, big container. If you look at the vessel, the big container. If you look at the aircraft, the airport, that you can see a slightly small container that shapes like a quarter. You know, if you round and a quarter of it shaped it, just to the shape looks like how are you get it is put into the aircraft. The aircraft looks, you know, rounded. Yeah, aircraft. So as such that look at the container, it is quarter shape of a round complete circle. Yeah, so quarter shape, because to fit the aircraft body. Yeah, so that is also called a container. Yeah, so this has led to demand for larger, faster, more specialized vessel to improve the economics of container transport. Huge vessel now, they're carrying hundreds of container in one vessel. So it says that a problem there. We have the delays at port, custom and security, management of containers use major issues in global shipping. So one of the major issues of using this water system nowadays, water transport, is delay at the port. Is pretty common, you know. It's pretty common. Those who are working in logistics, taking care of product coming in from the ports, you can imagine how hassle they are working. It is purely a real hassle. Declaring or to move your item out of from the vessel, out of from the port, to bring it to your place. Oh, it is hassle. Yeah. Custom, you got to pay, custom checking, security, all this, managing of this container. Yeah. Can you imagine? Yeah. One company, as we have mentioned just now, company, let's say Evergreen. Evergreen is from Taiwan. Evergreen is from Taiwan. Small country, Taiwan. They are controlling this container. Evergreen. Now they might have 100,000 of containers. They might have 500,000, maybe 50,000. How do they manage that? Oh man, I tell you, one vessel stuck in Moscow, one vessel stuck in London, one vessel stuck in China, in where? In Wuhan, in Wanjin, you know, one container stuck in Hokkaido. How do they manage that? Oh my God, it's a lot. Managing of containers is a major issue. And then what happened was, you know, this container, if they are for many years, I mean, maybe they can serve for, let's say, 10 years or 20 years, then you can sell that container to build a house, you know. Nowadays, people are building house from containers. They're building office from containers, yeah. So it's a used item, yeah, second-hand or used item. So managing containers, I tell you, if you were to happen to work in green, Evergreen or Maersk airline or lines, and you can see how do you manage that, you know, the 500,000 or 100,000 of containers that are around the world in a very remote area. Yeah, right. Yes, that's a vessel and all the containers there. Yeah, moving. Then we have pipeline. We have pipeline used primarily for transport of crude, petroleum, refined protein product, and natural gas. So a significant initial fixed cost is incurred. Initial setting up the pipeline. Now they are, I heard they're building pipeline across the Middle East. You know, within from Saudi and going to, you know, this pipeline, and we have pipeline in Ukraine or in Moscow going straight to France. You know, pipeline. So related infrastructure that does not vary significantly with the diameter of the pipeline. Depend on diameter. Typically, about 80 to 90% of pipeline capacity. Given the nature of course, pipes are more suited, relatively stable, and large flows of equipment. Yeah. So, petroleum, crude, refined one, they move from one point to another by pipeline is very much less cost. Yeah. Very effective by getting crude oil to the port or to refinery. Sending gasoline to gas station does not justify investment in pipeline, and this is much better than the truck. You see, it is better if you say at the end of the sentence by gasoline, you know, petrol to the gas station, it is better to go by truck rather than by pipeline, because it's too expensive. It's better to put on to use truck when the transporting fuel from one station to another station. Yeah, right. So mean to say that from the ocean, they come up with the crude oil, yeah, and then they have the pipeline, send it to the refinery. From the refinery, the truck is ready there to take it and send it to the gas station. Right? Okay, so LPG, we have this example of the LPG, yeah, supply chain there. Yes, production there, transportation by sea, refining the stores, transportation. Oh, there's no. They don't use the pipeline there. Yeah? Pipeline is not used. They still use vessel there. Okay, so it might be good to use a pipeline then, yeah? But the cost is very expensive, of course. Now we go into the next one, intermodal. So intermodal is the use of more than one mode of transport to move a shipment to its destination. So intermodal means that use of one mode, to use more than one mode to move a shipment to its destination. That means to say that you want to move this item from the Bangladesh to America. So from your factory, from your factory to the port, you use container, for example. And then from the port to the vessel, the container is being used again, put into the vessel. When it arrives in New York, the vessel is still there and it's uploaded, to a truck, put it on a truck, and then that container put on truck and it moved to a small New York lane 5, for example, to a shop or to build a warehouse. So the container being used more than one mode, from land to air to sea, and then back to land. So using more than one mode, that is meant by that. So a variety of intermodal combination are possible, with most common being truck and rail. Intermodal traffic has grown considerably with the increase of use of container. The use of container that is make it viable for using intermodal, using more than one transport, or one mode of transport. By using containers are the easier to transfer from one mode to another, and this use facilitates intermodal transportation. Containerization freight often use truck, water, rail combined, particularly for global freight. From let's say, from some remote areas, they use a truck, that container, use a truck to a train, to a rail station, and that rail station will straight go to the port, and from the port it goes to the vessel by sea, and then it goes to New York, reach New York port, probably taken up by rail first, rail sent to a particular city, and then from that city a truck will pick up, the container and send to a small street, for example. So you can see that the movement of, there is no unloading and loading, only once, loading once in your country and then uploading back in America. So that is, so containerization has become a most popular one, the most popular one. If you go transportation for global purpose, right. So this is the one example. This is a container, So it goes from truck to train, and then train to vessel, and then cross the ocean, and then goes to a port and come back. And then we might go to a train again, and then go by truck. And read this is what is meant by container in for the aircraft. It has to be shaped like that, to fit the body of the aircraft. So it cannot be a solid, completely a size of a square shape. There's a cut there. It's a cut there. Right. This is a container in the aircraft. Since that same again, this is also as considered as intermodal. From one company, from the manufacturer, it travels to a truck, and then it reaches the airport, and then the airport fix it into the aircraft, and it flies. And it flies, and then it reaches another airport, and it goes to this conveyor, and then pick up by a truck and sent straight to the buyer, for example. So one loading and one unloading, right? So as such, that the next step is you have to evaluate the strength, weakness of this mode. So we have water, air, truck again, pipeline, intermodal packages carrier. Water is typically the less expensive mode, but it's the slowest. Air and package are more expensive, but the fastest. Rail and water are best suited for low. These are the things that we have to, as a logistician who in charge of transport, they have to balance it. This is crucial. You have to study that. Yeah, you have to study that. So that is what happened. So later on you will understand it. You have to get the weakness and the strength. So the role of infrastructure and policies. Yeah. So infrastructure, as I mentioned earlier, port, road, aircraft. This is the significant impact. Yeah. So given inherent monopolistic nature, most transportation infrastructure requires public ownership or regulation by the government. Yeah, it's as simple as that. Public ownership. In the case of public ownership, pricing based on average cost lead to overutilization congestion. So well, they might have privatized some of it. They might have privatized, but it might lead to overutilize and congestion will happen. So important to use some form of congestion pricing. At the point you have to go for pricing, congestion pricing, to internalize increase of the network cost. They have costs. So again, you are again balancing it. Yeah. So infrastructure base and the policies of the country. Depends that. Yeah. So road, seaport, airport, rail, canals are some of the major infrastructure elements that exist along nodes and link of transportation. Yeah, we have been many years. Yeah, so almost all countries, government have taken the initiative, responsibility for that. Yeah, so improved infrastructure has played significant role in development of transportation, resulting in growth of trade. Because of this transportation, it result in the growth of trade and economy. Yeah, so it boosts the economic development. So we can see more recently the impact of improved road, air, and port being developed by China. It very much we can see now, very visible. China is doing that. Yeah. Furthermore, we have the of national toll-free highways. Yeah, was built. Yeah. So in are not toll-free to pay. Yeah. So of such that when you have to pay tolls, then you have to adjust your price. So at the same time, other facility, tunnel, bridges were often constructed as toll facilities. Yeah. So many countries in Europe, concession were granted to private companies that receive toll revenue. So because of this, government set up the highway, and then they privatize it, and they collect. So that is happening with mentioned Indonesia, Thailand. Yeah. So deregulation of transportation industry is a massive job done. Yeah? Deregulation. Yeah, deregularize the transportation that for the benefit, but more efficient and cost effective, rather than it have to be deregulated. Yeah? To identify the strength and weakness of air transport, is pretty similar that those network to the ship directly from origin to destination of most products. What is meant here is that sometimes we move A to B directly, directly, but come a time we use the intermediary, we have the docking center, DC, somewhere in the middle. So all products are sent to station A, and then from A, go to somewhere else. It's like a hub, it's like a hub. But because this is for land, so we have this, call it a docking center, whereby shipment is sent to a center, a certain center, and from that center, it goes to some other parts of the city. This center is, or facility, this center is those probably, for example, I'll give you an example. Let's say there's one product or multiple product came from a vessel, a container, multiple product, a lot of product inside there. So to distribute it to some other retailers, there must be a center. They cannot send one container, to one, because there are so many items there, they cannot just have that one container sent to one place, for one particular retailers. Yeah, it has to be stationed in the middle and then sent to hundreds of retailers. That is, we call it docking center. Yeah, it's like an intermediate warehouse. Yeah, intermediate warehouse. A small shipment, even though it takes more time, sometimes it takes more time or it becomes more complex. Shipment may also be consolidated with milk run, with the picking up for multiple locations or dropping off. So what happened is that you have to understand that come a time if they don't use the center, then they have to move, drop one point, they stop one city, and then go to another city, drop it, then go another city, drop it. Yeah, so this what is they call it as milk run and dropping off. That is multiple items in the container or in the truck. Then we drop off one shop, drop off to another retailer, drop off to another retailer. Yeah, that is what happened. That is very not a direct.
Hello. Sorry to interrupt, sir. Really sorry. Please আপনারা একটু আপনাদের মাইক্রোফোনটা অফ করবেন কাইন্ডলি। স্যার একটু লেকচার দিচ্ছেন, আপনাদের ক্যামেরা সবাই অন করে রাখেন, কিন্তু মাইক্রোফোনটা অফ করেন প্লিজ।
Thank you so much.
Sir, please carry on.
So what happened as a shipper, as a logistician, you have to identify and trade off. Need to consider when designing a transportation network. So to say that one point to another is one, but choosing the right transport, choosing the right mode of transport. So when designing transportation network, shipper needs to consider trade-off among transportation cost, your inventory cost, operating cost, customer responsiveness. That means to say when you're trying to transport your product, you have to look at your inventory. How much is the cost? What is your inventory there? And then you have operating cost as well. And then when the customer wants it, so there a lot of things to consider. A lot of things to consider. So the supply chain goal is to minimize our job, to minimize the by providing a responsive, very responsive the work of our aim and to ensure that customer is very much satisfied, even the item on time, being responsive what the customer wants. But to respond the customer need, on top of that, because become a profit. Delivering to a customer with the price that you have mentioned to the customer is another profit to you. You sell the item at, for example, you sell the item at $10 US, the profit is $2, for example. Yeah, the profit of selling. But if you're able to cut the cost, it's another profit. Back-to-back profit. Yeah. Right. So transportation and inventory cost trade-off. So we have to understand that inventory cost. Yeah? In the supply chain, in the purchasing department, inventory department, you know about this inventory cost incurred. Transportation, you have the inventory, you have the cost incurred. Transportation cost. You have to trade off. Everything as transport. Want to use air or sea, by truck, by container, or by parcel, So you have to trade off that. So between transportation cost, customer responsiveness. I think this is more crucial, Customer transportation cost and being responsive. If, for example, there is someone, a king, the ruler of the country, says that I want a Rolls Royce. I want a Rolls Royce to be delivered in 24 hours. But you fly it, If the king is buying it and he will pay for the transportation. That's it. You fly the car. You see, because he wants it by in few hours. So you fly the car. That is taking off the transportation cost and the customer responsive to being responsive. So teletransportation by customer density and distance. So you ensure that you get transportation looking at distance, the customer density, how populated they are, how many are wanted that item, and where is it? Then you have to tailor which transport to use. Besides that, you can tailor the transport based on the product, demand, and if it is by you are selling a gas petrol, you have no choice except to use truck. And even the truck is a special truck. It cannot be an ordinary truck. It has to be a special made truck for transportation of gas or petrol. We have to trade off. That is the massive part, and is what you call it a logistician have to consider. Keep playing with it, keep thinking which one is the best transport to satisfy the customer. Right? So then we have the complexity and scale of transportation is excellent. Make it more excellent using of IT. All this you have to be IT. Software, implementation, application of blockchain, all those latest IT embedded. Different size, delivery time, all is there, click in the data, give you the result. To optimize the problem, whose solution is set out of routing and packing lists for each vehicle to minimize the cost. So, our tracking system. Once you start moving the item, the customer wanted to know where is it now? Or on land. So the tracking system, another latest developed system. So I mentioned here that as tracking real notification, electronic notification, so internet use by companies. Even the truck, even nowadays in the truck, there is even the truck is moving. It's real time. The truck is moving. You could see it because the truck, aircraft have the black box or whatever it is, so we can the flight where they are similarly be embedded throughout the system of designing transportation. So transportation decision making, align transportation strategy, competitive strategy, considering outsource transportation. Either you want to have transportation or you want somewhere else. To be more competitive, then you should consider whether you have to have your own truck or never mind, no need truck. We hire someone else. That is you outsource. Use of technology you can't avoid. You have to use that. Design flexibility in transportation network. You have the IT there. You have design flexibility. in your transportation networking. Networking is, talking about transportation networking, you have to design accordingly. So I think nowadays with IT, we are more lessen the burden of scheduling the transportation IT based. Right? And again, with IT will satisfy our customer. So again, we can see that networking is very important. What's next? Oh yeah, we took the end there. Yeah, actually it's the end there. So in transportation, at the end of the day, we have to make decision. Be more competitive. Either you want to have your own transport or you outsource. IT, you have to embed it. You have no choice, and having a very good network in choosing. All right, guys. I'm so sorry. I have to go. I'm to say that I go my lectures pretty fast. I can keep chat with you all, because of time constraint, and but perhaps I hope that you would understand, and those who are in the logistic transportation is so crucial. Yeah, it's the biggest transportation is the biggest cost in supply chain. Okay, guys, I hope you are happy there.
Sir, thank you so much. The lecture was amazing. It was really amazing, and we learned a lot of things. Thank you so much, sir.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
I got.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, Fazana, very popular name, yeah.
Yeah, you are
Yeah.
very popular in Bangladesh, sir. Because
It's a
lot of people in Bangladesh, they are very much interested to join in your class. All the time they are asking me when you are joining. So though you are busy last few months, so I think every week we will get you.
All right.
Okay, sir. And in August, I'm coming in Malaysia. I'll meet you, inshallah.
Okay, yes.
Okay, sir.
guys.
Okay, bye.
thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum and take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
আপনারা যারা আছেন তারা আসলে যারা আজকে ফার্স্ট ক্লাস যারা আজকে ওরিয়েন্টেশনের জন্য আমাদের সাথে জয়েন করেছেন আমরা অগাস্ট